Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
That's right, ladies, gentlemen, and tarnished of all ages, From Software has done it again. The next quote-unquote major patch for Elden Ring 1.05 has been released today, and you may be wondering what the hell has changed, because this game has now been out for nearly 4 months. What could possibly be left to add, barring DLC itself? Well, as it turns out, the answer is mostly bug fixes, but also a couple of real quality of life and convenience upgrades. The biggest thing in the whole bunch being that a number of bell bearings that previously didn't transfer into New Game Plus runs now do. The basic bone and meat and medicine ones, which are of course useful, but more importantly than that even is the Smithing Stone Miner's Bells, the Somber Stone Miner's Bells, and of course the Glovewort and Ghost Glovewort Picker's Bells. Obviously, if you wanted the ability to upgrade anything early in New Game Plus before, you had to stock up like all hell in your main playthrough before resetting, so your inventory would just be full of the stuff. Now, however, you can just sort of get it as you need it in New Game Plus because you keep the bells, as it should be, as it is convenient and enjoyable gameplay. No more spending hours collecting runes to trade before starting a New Game Plus run. Now just go on and deal with it when it's necessary. Aside from that, also on the quality of life side of things, how often during your playthrough of Elden Ring did you think, do I have a Flask upgrade ready to go or not? Can I do that right now? Sit down at the Site of Grace and go through both menus just to find out that you don't have the requirements to upgrade it at all. Well, now that thought should be gone completely, as there is a nice little circular notification on the Site of Grace screen when you have an upgrade ready to be done. If the circle isn't there, then you can't upgrade, and it only marks what is upgradable. So essentially, you just know what has to be done when. No more confusion, no more checking. Obviously, this isn't a ridiculously big change by any means, and the majority of people that are playing Elden Ring at this point have long since gotten all the Flask upgrades, but it is a massive game, and you have to remember there are lots of people still on their first playthrough, only able to play for like a couple hours a day at most. And for those people, this will be a really nice quality of life bump. And then finally, for the actual changes and additions, I don't even really know what the need for this one is, but hey, I guess it doesn't hurt anyone.
Why do you exist?
Now when a summoning sign shows up nearby you, it will make a little sound. That's not the actual sound, but I think it's a reasonable representation. Aside from these then, we have a nice long list of bug fixes, but a lot of the fixes just are extremely niche situational bugs, like the Rykard boss fight would just straight up break 1 in 1,000 times, or Melania would sometimes have less health than she's supposed to, but others do actually affect the game a bit more on the grander scale, and those are worth going over. For example, in the last patch there was a change to shields that seemingly nerfed them a fair bit. Most notably, the Fingerprint Stone shield could no longer reach 100 guard boost, thus making it no longer the absolute tank that it had been for the first few months of the game. As it turns out, that wasn't an intended change. It wasn't a nerf to those shields. It was a bug that was accidentally put in the game while trying to fix different bugs. And now that bug is gone as well, with shields returning to their former glory. There is a note here that Royal Knight's Resolve and Determination had an issue where it would not actually wear off the weapon when used with certain moves. And what I thought this was referring to was the whole idea that weapon buffs in your right hand affect your left hand weapon. Things like being able to put Blood Flame on a dagger and then use the Grafted Dragon Fist skill to apply bleed, which it should never do, because if you use the same concept with Royal Knight's Resolve, it doesn't remove the buff, so you just get an 8-second window where you can use 80% stronger Grafted Dragon shots. And, well, that wasn't actually changed by this, it still works the same. So it turns out this is just a bug fix for a much more niche situation than I ever realized, for an interaction that actually rarely happens, so it's not a big deal. Well, I find it somewhat weird that they messed with this and theoretically fixed the skill without actually fixing the stranger interactions that it has. I'm actually quite pleased that they didn't. Being able to make the Grafted Dragon Fist stronger is just fun. It doesn't break the game, it isn't stronger than any actual meta weapons, even with this bug included. So leave this bug alone specifically and let people be happy, right? What I do love about this though is clearly they know about this bugged interaction type in general with the right hand weapon affecting the left hand weapon because they fixed it for the pulley crossbow. Previously, if you had a weapon effect on your right hand and the pulley crossbow was in your left hand, any arrows that you fired would apply that buff, or the statuses, which was really nasty. It was most notable with things like Sleep or Death Blight, and now that is just totally gone. So clearly they are keeping an eye on this type of thing and only stomping out the more broken usages of the bugs, leaving the fun ones around, which I like. According to the notes, there was occasionally a bug that made the Seppuku skill actually damage allies, which I find absolutely hilarious hilarious, but never encountered myself. Just the idea of, I will stab my friend through myself as a method of recompense. Well, that's gone. No more multi-seppuku, sadly. And thankfully, on top of that, there was apparently a further bug with seppuku that made it stronger than intended with a few very specific attack motion values, which has been fixed. And so while this isn't really a direct nerf to seppuku as a whole, it means that a few of the more severe uses of it, a few of the specific weapon swings, should be fixed to be what From Software actually intended. Sadly though, that means that they intended it to still be painful, as again, it isn't a nerf to the bleed meta, just a really tiny fix.
Why do you hurt me?
And then the final one that will actually have a genuine effect on most people is the fixing of rapid fire incantations and sorcery bugs. Beforehand, it was possible to use something like Catch Flame with a super small recovery window, and if you comboed it fast enough with a longer incantation like Theodorix's Magma, it would go off instantly, obviously creating an issue where you could use an incantation that was balanced around its wind-up time without, well, the wind-up time that was balanced around. Now that is gone, and so things are back to normal in this camp. Finally, a proper buff to a weapon skill in the form of fixing its previous bug, and the Ash of War in question is Waves of Darkness, the Astel Remembrance reward. This attack has two stages. One throws out a number of ticks of gravity energy and rings around you, and then if you press the heavy attack button, it does a spinning slash. But before this patch, that spinning attack was bugged and wouldn't actually connect with your enemies. Now that has been repaired and every hit connects, making this quite possibly a very good Ash of War now. Of course, we will do our own testing with it properly and come back at you with the eventual results afterwards. Aside from this, everything else is quite minor, very specific interaction fixes, nothing that will shake up anyone's overall experience with the game by any means, just maybe one moment out of your entire time with it. Well, at least as far as the patch notes are concerned at least. After all, even the last couple of patches From Software has snuck a little something in here or there, so all this is the initial roundup of changes, the ones that they've told us about. Keep an eye on the channel as we look to find any more hidden jewels of changes that are part of this update. Until then though, enjoy your slightly different game experience. Like if you like the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.